Compost and manure are a great thing to add to your garden, but quick, before you do that, you need to do this process to make sure you're not going to kill all of your plants. Unfortunately, in this day and age of modern technology and modern agriculture, there are certain sprays that will last in the garden for a really long time. Now, you might not actively spray these in your garden, but they can get in there from using manures from animals that have eaten the products that have been sprayed. The most common group of sprays that cause this problem are called pyralids, but there are unfortunately a few others as well. What happens is these are sprayed on hay paddocks because they're a broadleaf spray, so they'll get the weeds out of the paddock that they're turning into hay. This product then stays in the hay. The animals eat the hay. It stays active and alive in their manure and can even survive the composting process. One of the most common things I have heard recently about contaminated compost is mushroom compost, because most mushroom composts are actually based on horse manure, and horses of course eat a huge amount of hay. Now, there's a really simple test you can do. It does take a couple of weeks, but it is well and truly worth it to make sure that you're not going to contaminate your soil. We have just got a whole lot of horse poo from 3 different places. What I want to do is this side of the tunnel house is very, very damp. And I want to play this to my advantage and grow melons and cucumbers on the side that really like the moisture, but they will rot if they're sitting in water. So what I want to do is build a big mound of really fertile manure, compost, everything on this side and plant them right in the top of that berm. But first, I want to make sure that this manure is not contaminated and will not cause us the same problems we've had in the past. The solution to this is something called doing a bioassay, and that is when you take some clean soil that you know is clean, or some potting mix, and you put that in a control container. And then you get your manure from your other sources. Make sure you grab a few out of each different bag to make sure that you're getting a range. And then you mix it 50-50 with your clean soil. So what you want to do is label these if they're coming from different places. I've got number 1 from the place we first picked up the manure, and number 2 where we picked up the second manure, and the third one is a control. And then within here I've just planted 4 bean seeds. You can use anything that grows quickly. Beans, peas are both really good options. They're very, very sensitive to these broadleaf sprays. If you want a really quick answer, what you can do is sacrifice some of your tomato seedlings. They, as soon as their roots get out into the air, they will start showing signs pretty quickly. Within a week to 10 days with tomato seedlings, you'll know if they're in contaminated soil. So what you want to do if you've planted your beans is then give them a light watering. You want to keep them moist enough that the seeds will germinate, but what you don't want to be doing is flushing out the contamination. A lot of these are water soluble. So you just need to add just enough to keep it moist. What you don't want them doing is all 3 of these sharing the same amount of water in the bottom, because the contamination can go from one side and seep up into the other, and that'll stuff your experiment completely. Now, to get these growing nice and quickly, it's winter here, so I brought them into the house and had them sitting on my countertop. And that way I could keep a good eye on them, and they were nice and warm, so they sprouted really quickly. Now, the things you want to be looking out for depend a little bit on the contamination itself. Different chemicals will have different results. I'll put a link to something I found down below that has some of the common herbicides that can be persistent and the expected results in both broadleaf plants and grass plants. But what I'm predominantly looking for is really massive crinkly leaves, or really stunted growth, or seeds that have germinated and then failed to grow, or ones that just have not germinated seemingly at all. Because of course when a bean germinates, the first thing it does is sends its roots down, and if the contamination is so high that it kills off that bean before it manages to get its shoot out, it may look like it hasn't germinated at all, but actually it has sent that root down and got poisoned straight away. Usually within 2 to 3 weeks you'll have a fairly good idea whether the soil that you're trying to grow in are contaminated or not. And here you can see the ones that have got the manure in the pots have grown way faster than the bog standard, probably quite old potting mix that I used as a control. But the leaves themselves look healthy, regular sized, and when comparing to the control, they certainly don't look munted or mutated or failing to thrive. In fact, they're doing a lot better because of all the nutrients in the manure. So I'm very happy to be able to use this manure in my tunnel house. So what can you do if you discover you do have contaminated manure or compost. I recommend you do this with any bought compost as well. If you have paid for the product, you need to take your results back to where you bought it from and take all your unopened bags, take them back and ask for a refund. That product is not suitable for purpose. If it's manure that you've managed to get, you can still use it in some places. Most trees will not be affected by it, so you could put it around your trees. You can leave it in a pile somewhere. I recommend you spread it out because it's the microbes in the soil, not in the manure, that will break that down. So spread it out, even mix it in with some topsoil and leave it in a corner of your garden for a few years. Try the bioassay again in a year or two. And see if it has healed it. If not, you can keep leaving it. You can water in some humic and fulvic acids. You can mix through some biochar, both of which can help significantly. Another alternative is to use it to grow grass crops. So things like corn, oats, wheat, barley, rye, any of those should not be affected by a broadleaf spray. And if you want to check out what happened when we discovered that we had a contamination issue in our tunnel house, check out this video up here. I will see you in the next one.